Hello and welcome to another drive-in double feature. I'm Ryan,
I'm Nathan.
and this is the podcast where we talk about two movies a week every Tuesday and Thursday. But before I get anything to all, we have a Patreon over at patreon.com/drive-in double feature podcast. Nathan, I was at my local park the other day. I'm finding a
Mm,
pigeon to eat,
normal.
and I was running into somebody else who was also getting a pigeon, like as normal people do, and
Of course.
they're just like, man, these pigeons are so delicious, but not as delicious as the Drive and Double Feature Podcast Patreon, where it has all kinds of fun conversations, games, just a good time to be had by all. And I said, that sounds perfect. And he said, I hope Ryan and Nathan know how much we appreciate them. And I said, I think they know. And then I took a bite out of my pigeon.
How was it?
Uh, it was a little gamey, but it was a good flavor.
You didn't get a tapeworm again, did you?
Not, thankfully, not again.
Okay, good.
But it's only $5 a month and it doesn't lock any regular content. But today we're going to be talking about 1988's The Vampire's Kiss, and that is directed by Robert Bierman. Um, this movie is a movie I've been wanting to see for a very long time because it's a very meme heavy movie after the fact, because it has a very infamous scene and there's a face that Nicolas Cage makes where he just looks completely unhinged,
Yes.
and it's made its way into popular culture. Um, I knew Nicolas Cage became a vampire of sorts, but I had no idea of the plot, and I just but I went off that one scene. I'm like, let's just see what happens. And oh boy, was this something, Nathan. I don't think I was mentally prepared for what I was seeing in this movie.
Yeah, this was like you said, I only knew this movie from the memes. I assume that Nicolas Cage would be insane in this movie. That just seems like a Nicolas Cage thing. But yeah, it is quite the movie.
Yeah, I was watching this kind of just being like, okay, like so it kind of shows him like as a boss for like this publishing company, I think.
Yeah,
And
that's what it seems like, yeah.
he's kind of a jerk, but he's just like very vain and has like a beautiful girlfriend, and just kind of all around is just kind of not a great guy, but he's not like the worst either. But just as the movie goes on, he starts getting more and more odd, and that's a very light way to put it, I would say too. And he meets this woman at a bar, and we can see as the audience that she has like these vampire teeth, and she kind of like bites into him, and he starts behaving kind of crazy. And I was kind of waiting for some type of a plot to kick in, but there's not really a plot to this movie.
No, this is such a meandering movie. Like, oh my, like nothing happens. It's so, I mean, stuff happens, but it's very light. It is so reliant on Nicolas Cage just acting crazy for
Like,
this movie.
yeah, like a mental patient. It's just
Yeah, like when people make fun of Nicolas Cage performances, generally I'm like, Nicolas Cage, he can be bad, but he could be good sometimes. This is like the Nicolas Cage that people think about, where it's just off the wall, eyes crazy, just yelling and screaming, just all these weird motions. And he makes this movie better than what I think it could have been. The reason I say that is because I looked into the production of this movie and the writing of this movie, and it seemed like the writer wrote this about his own relationship because he was in a horrible relationship where he felt like the life was being sucked out of him, and I guess it was a very dark movie. That does not really shine through here because this just feels like a comedy, like a weird
what?
comedy.
Well, I mean, that's kind of what I'm wondering. I'm like, how, like, is this supposed to be considered a comedy?
I don't know. I don't was it like was it directed that way, or did Nicolas Cage like ruin the movie in a way? Like in a way, did he, like, you could say he saved it, but did he ruin the original intent of this movie acting the way he does?
I mean, if Nicolas Cage played this role straight or like not over the top, I it would probably be like a forgotten movie.
Probably. Yeah.
Like anybody else doing this, it probably would not have been remembered because the way, just even the way like Nicolas Cage even speaks
Mhm.
in this movie is just he has such an odd speaking pattern.
What is he going for here? It sounds almost British, but it's not. It's like kind of posh. I don't
Yeah,
know.
it's like it reminded me like he was like trying to do like Katharine Hepburn or something. Like
Kinda, yeah.
it
It
was so
no,
yeah, I don't know.
you
I
can't
don't
pin it
know
down.
what that was. I don't know what that was supposed to be, and I was just kind of like, okay, like, but the thing with this movie is that it's a very like the main battle is between like Peter and his own like Peter Nicolas Cage's his own like sanity pretty much because
Mhm.
I mean, did he actually meet that woman, do you think? Like, or was that just kind of like, was that like kind of like a one night stand and it was just kind of like,
See,
it just went off the rails or
the movie does not give you the answer to that, and I could not tell you. I don't think any of it happened, and I don't even know if he's actually a vampire. Was that all in his brain that he was a
I think so.
vampire? Yeah,
Yeah,
like
I think
literally
I,
all of it. It reminded me so much of American Psycho, the ending of this, where it's like he goes on this rampage and he thinks he's a vampire, and then it's like, oh well, none of that was real. But like, what causes this downfall so suddenly?
that's what I was just trying to like pinpoint. Like, what is it? I mean, like, was he, because he did do drugs.
Yes, yeah.
And so I was just like, maybe he just having a bad trip or I don't know. Or
Bad
like,
trip. Maybe he didn't like the relationship he had with his girlfriend. And this was he just drove him crazy, even though she seemed completely fine. His girlfriend seemed nice enough. Um, but there's like little things too, right? Like where she goes over to sleep with him, and then a bat shows up, and a bat is flying around in their place, and just like little things like that because it's
and
he sleeps with her after he sleeps with the vampire, supposedly.
well, I thought he slept with her and then the vampire.
So the bat thing is just like a weird was just a weird thing.
Was the I'm trying to remember the time. Was the bat before or after the vampire girl hooked
Now that
up?
you say it, might have been before, and then I don't know why it was like, it's just like a silly thing. This movie's
I
filled with
so
like these weird random
well
moments.
so like it kind of says something like he he goes so like he goes and has like that bat in his apartment and then he goes to his therapist.
Hmm.
It talks about how exciting it was to have
Oh
like a
yeah,
bat in his apartment and it was like almost like arousing to him,
and that's why
like
a
just
vampire would be attracted
like
to him.
like he just thought like the idea of a vampire, which like there's there's a vampire where it's like you think of like these like really cool like very tortured souls and it's like his definition of a vampire is like you know like the kind like you'd see like in a Saturday morning like the Count on Sesame Street or like it's just
Yeah.
like he wants to act like super stupid like he wants to look more like a vampire so he goes to like a costume shop and the guy's like, "Oh, here's like these vampire teeth you can get." And they're only I think it was like they were like $30 or something. And he's just like, "Oh, that's too expensive." And and so he gives them like the really like the cheap plastic ones like you can get like at an arcade or whatever, like or like from
Yeah.
like the gotcha machines or whatever. Like you
Hmm.
just put it like you just put those in your mouth like you used to get as a kid.
Yeah. And yeah, and they're like super small on him too.
Yeah, and but he just like walks around like
Yeah, it
just like
the idea of that is so funny. Like I like the idea of like this guy thinks he's a vampire, but like you said, it's like the dumbest version of a vampire, like a child, like, like with the fake teeth and like going around just yelling, "I'm a vampire!" And then like anytime he sees the sun, he covers himself. He's like, "Oh, the sun!" But then he'll be
yeah,
walking around in it just fine.
yeah, and or like there's the scene too where he'll just be running up and down the street going, I'm a vampire, I'm a vampire, I'm a vampire, and just and then he'll like run up to a church like, please help, I'm a vampire, and people are like, you're stupid, and they do like the little cross sign with their
And
fingers,
he
and he's like,
runs
ah
away.
like
It's so it feels like a jackass prank in a
it
way.
does. It feels like somebody's like doing like a like that's what I said I thought that in my head. I'm like, if somebody did that to me, I would think I was on like some prank show or something. Like
Yeah, that's what it feels like. And like I mean, like Nicolas Cage is going like just insane in this movie in these scenes when he's yelling a vampire at the top of his lungs, biggest emotions, flailing his arms. This guy, I've never seen overacting like this before. It is just on another level. It's funny. That is one thing. He is genuinely funny in this movie and like things he says and the way he does them. It is laugh out loud funny, but not like because it's good, but because it's bad. It's so insanely bad. Um, I honestly feel bad for the character Alva, right?
yeah, we
Yeah,
haven't even talked about that. Yeah.
yeah, he has like an off like someone who works under him, like an intern, or not an intern, like a receptionist, who he really wants this dumb contract for this guy who doesn't even really want it. And
That was so funny. Like that
yeah. Um
he's he's making a big deal about this contract being found, and then the very next scene is like, that's him on the phone right now, Alpha. He's going to give me hell right now. And then like he picks
yeah.
up the phone, you can hear him on the other end. It's like, it's no big deal. I mean, don't worry about it. And then he's like, he could barely get a word out because he was furious, Alpha.
Yeah. Although I should say, I did read this. He was going for a Transylvania accent with whatever accent he was doing. That was
That
not.
that that was not Transylvania. That's not what I got out of it.
No, no. But this poor Alva woman, it's like all of his anger gets centered onto her, and it's not even like a vampire thing. He's just like mean to her, yells at her, forces her to get this contract. There's like this scene where she's so scared of him that she calls out sick, and he drives across town with soup. Is like, I've got soup for you, Alva. You know what? Let's forget this whole thing. And then she thinks, she's like, you know what? Maybe he's nice now. And then they get in the car and he's like, so we're gonna go and we're gonna look for this contract and we're gonna make sure that we get it
Yeah, we're
today,
gonna work very late now.
which is such a like slap in the face.
I,
I felt so bad for this character.
like if that had happened, and then like the way he was like yelling and ranting, I'd be
Hmm.
like, Let me out of the car like right now. Like I am like
Yeah. And
I feel so scared."
and they explain why she doesn't do that because she makes money for her family and her mom's like, hey, you need to work for this guy, you make so much money
Yeah.
that you're helping us out, so it makes sense, and she just genuinely seems like a nice person. There's that scene later in the movie where she has a gun with only blanks in it pointing at him, and she's like, no, don't hurt me, don't rape me, and then he says, I'm gonna rape you, just really loud. And it's just like, and it's actually a really if it was a different movie, it'd be a lot darker because he wants to die because he's a vampire, but it almost feels comical in a
Yeah.
way. It's so
It
odd.
it's not a good tone. And it's
No.
like this is like my least favorite scene of the movie.
Oh
And
yeah, it's
it's
hard to
just
watch.
it's because it's very much like he's like threatening to rape her, and then he like eventually like throws her to the ground and like rips her clothes off.
Uh-huh.
And I don't think he ends up going through with it,
No.
thankfully, but still. So like she has a gun with blanks in it because her cousin was basically just like here, like take you don't need real bullets, just take some blanks and just fire it into the air and that'll scare them off, whoever you're trying to scare.
Hmm.
And so there's a point where Nicolas Cage is like, I'm gonna kill myself because he finds the gun that Alva had and like
Hmm.
puts it in his mouth and then fires, but because it's a blank, he thinks he's immortal and he can't be killed. But when I saw that, I'm like, if you shot yourself at the blank point blank,
Oh,
like in your
in your
mouth,
mouth.
you would be dead still.
Yeah, yeah, because I mean, we saw that recently where like someone died with a blank, like that happens because it's still like a small explosion, especially in your mouth. He would have at least had some damage, or I thought was expecting like a comical, like, oh, maybe he had like black soot or whatever comes out of it in his mouth. No, it's almost like nothing happens. That's what a blank does.
Well, I remember, yeah, because they did that in that one movie in Bruges. I remember, like somebody gets shot point
Hmm.
blank with a blank, and like it hits
Hmm.
him in the eye, and he like goes blind because of it.
Yeah, yeah. So, I mean, which I think is a fun idea because he thinks he's immortal, and that adds even more into this vampire fantasy. I was expecting though the original vampire played by Jennifer Beals. I was expecting more from her. She actually isn't in the movie a lot. And I guess I was reading there was some behind the scenes drama because Nicolas Cage at this time was dating Patricia Arquette, who was up for that role, and she lost it to her. And I guess Nicolas Cage did not treat her well behind behind the scenes.
Sucks.
Yeah, that must be awful.
Yeah, I mean, she's not in the movie that much. It's she's more just like shows up randomly out of nowhere, and then just like they just end up making out or whatever.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
did you notice, but maybe this is not too much, but did you notice like when they were making out, like she's supposed to be topless, but she has like some type of like tape over her boobs, like,
I didn't
and so you
notice
can't.
that, no. So it covers the nipples or whatever.
Yeah,
I did not notice that.
that's what it looked like. Because
I
I
wouldn't
saw
be
that. I'm like,
surprised.
but there I probably just disgusted by Nicolas Cage. It was like I want to be seen with him, but
Uh-huh.
um. He also does like other random thing, like I said, like he goes to Central Park, he finds a pigeon and like just takes it home and just eats it whole. And then there's the other scene where he's like in his apartment, he just sees a cockroach and he just snatches it off the counter and eats it.
And eats it,
And
yeah.
and supposedly that is real. That was actually Nicolas Cage eating a live cockroach.
Yeah, because I guess it was supposed to be a raw egg instead.
Yeah.
There's also the weird, funny little bit where the couch is his coffin. He uses
Oh, that
like
was funny, I
yeah,
thought.
the overturned couch is like he hides under it, and that's his little coffin. And his it reminded me of Dead Ringers, the apartment in the end, because it's just so disgusting and destroyed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It it was really fun aesthetic with him at the couch. But then just as the movie goes on, because we as the audience think he actually is a vampire, but then like it kind of just unravels like, no, he's not actually a vampire. He's actually just like an insane person. And
Yeah, yeah. Because he goes to therapy. There's like a really long scene of him in therapy, and it like goes back and forth between like therapy and then him standing in the street, just like, like pretty much like bloody and everything. Like he can't handle it. That scene's funny because I do like that. Like he's like, I murdered somebody, and the therapist is like, oh, come on, nobody's looking for you. It's not that big of a deal.
it's not a big deal. Yeah, she totally downplays it. That's because it's in his own head at that
Yeah.
point. And then I also like, and he does eventually murder a girl like at a
Hmm.
nightclub. He takes her and they start making out, and then eventually he bites her neck, like so that way she's just bleeding, like basically just bites a chunk out of her neck so she like dies.
Yeah.
And he does eventually, and then what happens is in the end is that Alva's cousin finds out that he tried to rape her.
Mm-hmm.
And then he walks around with like a piece of a pallet and he's like thinking it's like a steak. He's like, stake me. Like he tries to like stake himself and he can't do it. And then Alva's cousin like finds him in his apartment and just rams the stake into his chest.
Yeah, and he's dead. He died.
Yeah.
Uh,
So yeah, I this movie is crazy. I will say it's very much like I was not expecting the level of insanity that I was expecting from it, but I would have liked a little bit of a story to it, a little more where it was more of like, like what's the, like what's he working, where are we working towards type of thing, but because it was more of just like him just acting weird.
mhm.
Not to say that that made it like a boring movie because it certainly wasn't, but from it being like a really good movie, I would have liked a little more of substance to the plot.
Yeah, I agree. I'm torn a little bit because I think overall I didn't like it. I didn't like how plotless it was. Like I felt like there was nothing to really follow, and I ended up actually, and I was. It's funny to say this for this movie, but I felt like I got a little bored at some point. But it is also really funny. It's also just a really hilarious. Nicolas Cage in this movie is absolutely insane. We didn't even talk about the scene where he's pointing. That's the famous meme. Um,
Oh yeah.
but I think overall I don't recommend it. I don't. It's a hard thing because I honestly just didn't find it all that interesting. So I guess I wouldn't go out of my way to say watch it.
If you had like a group of friends to watch it and it was like like just kind of reacting to a lot of those scenes, I think that would be kind of a fun way to watch this movie.
Yeah.
But on its own, I you could probably just watch the scenes. There's a lot of those scenes on YouTube and you could just
Yeah.
watch that. But overall, I liked it just because I was entertained, but
Hmm.
I didn't love it by any means. So I don't I don't see a lot of people liking the movie. So I guess I would also say I don't recommend it. So I would just say, yeah, if you watch a couple of the scenes, see what you think, but just remember that there isn't a whole lot going on to the plot. So take that as you will.
Hmm.
But I think that's going to do it for this episode, Nathan. So, Nathan, what are we going to be talking about next time?
All right, Ryan, we are going to be talking about House of Games, which is streaming over on the Criterion channel. But Ryan, what are we going to be talking about on Thursday?
Well, Nathan, you know, who doesn't love a good parody movie, Nathan?
Oh boy.
And the one that's rich for the taking of being parodied is, of course, the Lethal Weapon series. So, Nathan, we're going to be talking about National Lampoon's Loaded Weapon 1.
Oh, hell yeah. That was a childhood favorite of mine.
I, I've never seen it.
Oh boy, I haven't seen it since I was a kid, so I'm excited.
Perfect. Well, it should be a good time. But if you have any thoughts and opinions, please email us over at drivein double feature podcast@gmail.com. Don't forget to follow the YouTube channel at Drive-In Double Feature Podcast. And once again, check out the Patreon at patreon.com/Drive-In Double Feature Podcast. But until next time.
Until next time.